Hey y'all, what's good? I want to quickly but efficiently go over the Brice Rhodes case and all of the things that took place leading up until the trial. So, if you are unfamiliar with who Brice Rhodes is and some of the crimes that he has committed, this is the video for you. Um, so, let's jump right into it. So, Brice Rhodes is also known as Rambo. He is a or was a rapper from Kentucky. And he has made a numerous amount of videos where he is waving GUNs. He makes references to drug dealing, racial slurs, things of that nature. He has a bad boy persona, even though he is very much a coward. Okay. He lived with his mom and his sister. There is documented evidence of domestic V against his mom on several occasions. However, she still allowed him to reside with her in their apartment. And so it has been alleged that Brice Rhodes dated a woman by the name of Elizabeth, or I'm sorry, Debbie. No, am I saying this right? Debbie Wren is the grandmother. So Elizabeth, I believe, is the mom. Her last name is Wren. So Elizabeth Wren dated Brice Woods, and it was very brief. However, she introduced her two sons to Brice, and in that time, he befriended the both of them. Keep in mind that Larry and Maurice were both 14 and 16 years of age. They were honor roll students and they had no criminal past whatsoever. So, in that time, Maurice would pick them up. He would take them joyriding. He would give them weed. He would give them alcohol. He bought them clothing and food. Additionally, they were featured in one of his videos where they were actually brandishing GUNs as well. Now, um, the two brothers, Maurice and Larry, were also best friends with a gentleman named Anwan Carter and another gentleman by the name of Corey Taylor. Corey and Anwan are cousins. So the four of them would hang out almost every day and just do, teenage boy things. And when they hooked up with Brice, then they would do illegal things. Okay. This is all under the direction of Brice. Now, also keep in mind that Corey was homeless at the time. He grew up in a single parented home. His father passed away, and he testified that he did not have a relationship with his mother. And so oftentimes he would sleep on the stairwell of his girlfriend's house or just wherever he could lay his head. A lot of times that would be at Brice and his mother's apartment. Um, and so he developed a very dysfunctional relationship with Brice just so he could have somewhere to lay down. Now, um, Brice on, let's go back to the dates here. Brice hooked up with um, Corey and Juan, Maurice, and Larry, and they went to the backyard of someone's residence and they were smoking and drinking. Brice told the boys that he had a hit out on someone and he needed them to accompany him to go take this person out. So they each got into a car. It was Maurice, Larry, and Brice in one car, and then Corey and Anwan and another individual that followed behind them. So, as I believe Maurice was the driver, he was driving down the street and Brice told him to stop. He got the GUN and pointed it at a random person who was walking down the street and he unalived him. This person was known as Christopher Jones, 40 years old. Brice did not know him at all. And yeah, so he just ended his life right there on the scene in a random act of violence, as he alleged that that was a person who he believed had the hit on his head. After this incident, they all went back to Bryce's house. Maurice and all of the other guys were panicky and but they had to keep their cool, okay? So Maurice and Larry went back home to their mom's house and they told their mom what took place. The mom called Brice and questioned him about it, and he basically acted as if he had no idea what they were talking about. The mom did not call the police whatsoever. And so a couple of days later, Brice had a conversation with Corey and Anwan and basically told them that he was fearful that Maurice and Larry were going to go to the police and tell on him and that they had to be dealt with. So he was able to coerce Larry and Maurice to come to his apartment. And so Maurice, Larry, and Juan, as well as Corey, all were at Bryce's home. Bryce's mom, as well as his sister, were out of town. There were some other individuals who were not named during the trial who were also present at the apartment. So, an altercation took place, and Maurice picked up a knife and started to weld it at Corey. Brice snatched a knife from Maurice and then slapped him in the face. At that time, he told Maurice and Larry to go into the bathroom. He forced them into the bathroom and made them wait. He came from outside of the bathroom and told all of the other individuals in the apartment at the time that they had to violate them. And so he made them all vote to unalive both Larry and Maurice. Brice then went into the bathroom. He stuffed a sock in their mouth. He put a hat over their faces to cover their eyes or what have you, and he also tied their hands behind their back with a belt. He brought Maurice out first. He took a knife and you know what with the knife, and then he passed the knife to Anwan, and he was forced to finish the act. The medical examiner testified that Maurice was STAB'd about 14 times. So then Larry was brought out with a sock in his mouth in the same fashion as his brother. Brice did the same thing that he did to Maurice, and the medical examiner testified that he was punctured with a knife at least 21 times. And I may have that backwards, but all in all, collectively, they were punctured 35 times. After which, Brice took a sheet and used that to transport their bodies into a tote. He placed the tote in the back seat of a car, and he, along with several of the other individuals who were in the apartment, went to an abandoned building and disposed of their bodies behind that building. He also took it upon himself to light their bodies on fire. Meanwhile, Anwan and Corey were left at the apartment to clean the scene. And so they scrubbed the living room with bleach. They scrubbed the carpet with bleach, and Brice also instructed them to clean up the kitchen. They did what they were told, and then they went to a abandoned or just a random apartment to dispose of the other items that were left behind, and they set the dumpster on fire. After that, Corey, I believe, went to his girlfriend's house. The other individuals went on their way, and Brice went on about his life as if nothing took place. Now, in the meantime, Elizabeth is looking for her sons because they had been missing for about 24 hours at this time. And so she called the phone, and Anwan answered the phone, and she was asking where her sons were, and he said that they were at school, not to worry. Some more time had passed, and someone reported that they had found two burned and charred bodies behind an abandoned building. The police arrived, and they were unable to positively identify the boys because they were unable to get fingerprints. And so they had a sketch artist come to try to sketch as best they could, and they released the photos to the general public. The principal at the school where the boys attended recognized the photo and she called the police. Miss Wynn then went down to the police station to positively identify her boys. Um, and so I'm going to finish the rest via an article that I found, and it lays it out play by play. So it reads as follows. The brothers' bodies were found a day later in the backyard of an abandoned house at the 4000 block of River Park Drive, east of Shawnee Park. They had been beaten, punctured with a knife until they were no longer with us. And then the individuals attempted to burn their bodies. Homicide detectives tracked down one of the two alleged teen accomplices, 15-year-old Anwan Carter, and began interviewing him while searching for 25-year-old Rhodes, their prime suspect. Police soon arrested an alleged accomplice, Ja'Cory Taylor, who was 17 years old at the time, with both teens claiming Rhodes forced them to participate in the double unaliving of the brothers and clean up the crime scene. On May 24th, 2 days after the bodies were found, police spotted Rhodes' car on Preston Highway and arrested him on an outstanding warrant in a domestic abuse case out of Indiana. They got him off the streets while detectives gathered more evidence. 7 hours after his arrest, investigators charged him with the double unaliving of the brothers, saying they found a plethora of evidence, including blood. After searching the apartment Rhodes shared with his mother on Haight Avenue in Clifton Heights, despite the apartment having been extensively cleaned with bleach. Detectives also charged Rhodes with tampering with physical evidence, alleging he destroyed evidence in the house and in a dumpster, where some charred items were recovered. Police kept quiet about the suspected involvement of a fourth person. It was a surprise to the public that I think it's Tyrone Coleman, 19 years of age, was indicted on November 22nd on 2 counts of unaliving, 2 counts of abuse of a corpse, and 1 count of helping tamper with physical evidence. At the time of the double homicide, Rhodes was on probation for domestic assault for incidents in 2013 and 2014, court records show. He is now charged with another 2014 incident in which his mother alleges that he grabbed her by the neck and punched her in the temple as she attempted to unload groceries, prompting his teenage sister to call the police. Larry and Maurice looked up to Jones, who featured them holding GUNs in one of his music videos, and sold them on a fantasy of becoming famous, the teen's relative said. Rose also bought them food and clothes and drove them around. The brothers were in a car with Rhodes on May 4th when Rhodes spotted Christopher Jones, who was 40 years old at the time. Police alleged that Jones jumped out of the car and shot Jones in the street, terrifying the teen brothers, who then feared Rhodes. The two teens charged in the brother slayings also had witnessed Jones's killing. They told investigators. Carter told police Rhodes mistook Jones for someone who had a price on his head, meaning he was a target of a contract killing. Rhodes began to fear that they would snitch to police. 2.5 weeks later, the teens were dead. Until that point, Jones's unaliving had remained unsolved. A day after Rhodes' arrest, dozens of teens and adults gathered in a heavy rain showers at a park to release blue, silver, and crimson balloons to honor the brothers. Several officers hovered in the periphery to safeguard the participants. They knew a third suspect, who was 17-year-old Ja'Cory Taylor, was at large, but kept that quiet from the public. The victim's mother, Elizabeth Wren, shouted at the crowd, "Please quit bashing me on Facebook. It ain't about me. It's sick and sad how we can't come together for these kids." She came under attack on social media for photos of her sons holding guns on Facebook, which referenced a gang. Her family insists the teens were in a gang and were just pretending to be tough. A woman at the vigil embraced Wynn, and the two sobbed before Wren went limp, falling to the park's water-soaked tennis court. That week, the family had intended on celebrating the brothers finishing middle school. Instead, Wren had to plan their funerals. The morning of the vigil, Rhodes was brought before a judge in Jefferson County District Court for arraignment, with private attorney Brandon McLeod by his side. He pleaded not guilty and was ordered to be jailed on a $1 million cash bond in each of the brothers' unalivings. A day later, officers found the third suspect, 17-year-old Jacory, and charged him with the unaliving of Larry and Reese's murders. Rhodes was brought from Metro Corrections back to court 5 days later on May 31st for a brief hearing since McLeod realized he needed to recuse himself from the case, something that made Rhodes angry. The vet attorney, who then knew Rhodes's mother, said he and Rhodes were in a holding cell when he told Rhodes he had a conflict of interest and couldn't remain on the case. McLeod said Rhodes spat on him. A detective darted in between them to keep tension from escalating. Once inside the courtroom, McLeod said he advised Judge Amber Wolf that it was a good idea to keep him and his soon to be ex client apart, saying, "If we're close to each other, we're going to scrap." Rhodes, handcuffed and flanked by deputies, yelled at McLeod from across the room, "You're a coward, and I'll see you when I get out." The attorney could have brought an assault charge against Rhodes, but opted not to, likening Rhodes's actions to a tantrum by a brat. As deputies escorted Rhodes from the courtroom, the defiant defendant pulled back and shouted a question at the judge about his bond. Wolf could be ordered re- Wolf could have ordered him to return to the defense table to address her properly, but known for her compassion, she answered him without an admonishment. 3 days later, several courtroom observers headed to see what Rhodes might do at a preliminary hearing. But Rhodes remained attentive and calm during the June 3rd hearing, though he sometimes awkwardly smiled at homicide detectives describing the murders and the evidence, including blood found in Rose's apartment and car, and an eyewitness who claims to have seen someone that looked like Rose at the dumpster engulfed in flames hours after the teens went missing. A month later, a grand jury indicted Rhodes on July 14th on unaliving charges in the deaths of Larry and Reese and the 40-year-old Christopher Jones. Rhodes is accused of attacking an inmate a month later at Metro Corrections. Rhodes knocked the inmate to the floor August 31st and threatened to unalive the victim like he did the others, according to the arrest warrant. The victim suffered a knot to the back of the head, a laceration on his forehead, and a sore neck, with jail staff photographing his injuries. A few weeks later, Rhodes spat on an inmate, and this took place September the 15th. That incident and the August assault were both captured on jail's video surveillance. Deputies took some rare precautions during a preliminary hearing September 23rd because Wolf saw Rhodes's erratic behavior. They strapped him by his wrists and ankles in a restraint chair and covered his mouth with a spit mask before wheeling him into the court. Rhodes, angered by the chair and mask, repeatedly threatened to fine and unalive the judge and her family. And then he says, "What, you don't think that we can find out where you live at?" As extra deputies stood nearby, along with 3 officers wearing gloves, Rhodes continued his rant, saying, "I don't give a bleep. You got family, I'll be out." Um, that netted Rhodes additional charges of tea threatening, I can't say the word, and intimidating a participant in the legal process. A few weeks later, Rhodes refused to return to his cell at Metro Corrections and began to break and throw cleaning supplies inside the day room. According to a citation, he is accused of ripping an inmate observation document during the October 19th incident, as well as taking a broken broom and swinging it at the glass window in attempts to break the glass toward an officer. He told the officer that he wanted her to come inside and that he was going to unalive her, according to the citation charging him with the tea threatening. 5 days later, Rhodes is accused of throwing urine through the crack of his cell door, striking an officer in the head, neck, and ear. Extra deputies were on standby When Rhodes was brought back to court November 17th, his attorneys entered a not guilty plea on his behalf on the new charges. This time, he wasn't wearing a spit mask and he remained calm and attentive. One of Rhodes' defendants, Anwine Carter, 15, pleaded guilty on November the 30th to reduced charges of 3 counts of facilitation to murder, unaliving of the teens and the 40-year-old, with each count carrying up to 5 years in prison. He also pleaded guilty to tampering with evidence, which carries 1 to 5 years. Prosecutors have recommended a 10-year sentence. As part of the plea deal, he agreed to testify against the brothers. Okay. So now we are at the 2017 developments. In jail, Rhodes tried to dig a hole with a metal object to escape his cell. Officials allege in added felony charges. A Metro Corrections officer noticed a man-made hole under the cinder blocks in Rhodes' cell on January 5th. Officers say as they tried to confiscate the metal object, Rhodes grabbed it and flushed it down the toilet. He was charged with first-degree criminal mischief, second-degree escape, and tampering with physical evidence, all felonies. It's unclear how Rhodes got the sharp object. Prosecutors announced their intention to seek the death penalty against Brice Rhodes in May. The prosecutor noted the aggravated circumstance, a requirement to seek the state's ultimate punishment, that multiple people were unalive intentionally. Tyron Coleman accepted a plea deal in July, admitting he facilitated the unaliving of the brothers as well as the movement of their bodies to the backyard of an abandoned house in Shawnee. That's a lesser crime than the original charges against him of complicity unaliving. He also pleaded guilty to tampering with evidence and 2 counts of abuse of corpse. During an emotional hearing, a judge sentenced Coleman to 10 years in prison in September, but she said he has a good chance at shock probation because he had no other criminal history. Grandparents of the victims carried framed school photos of the brothers to court, pleading with the judge to send all involved in the unalivings to prison. Okay, so now we are in 2018. In January, Taylor, this is Corey, pleaded guilty to facilitation unaliving, reduced from unaliving. Elizabeth Wren, the mother of the slain teens, told a judge she wasn't satisfied with the plea deal. It's not fair losing 2 children at the same time, she said. To me, they all should get life without the possibility of parole. In a February court filing, prosecutors released notes believed to have been sent from Rhodes to co-defendant Taylor in 2017 while they were both housed at Metro Corrections. The letter, which includes the words "rats get exposed," encouraged Taylor to recant his police statement, not to take any plea deal, and to go to trial. Taylor is scheduled to be back in court March 14th for a sentencing hearing before Circuit Judge Charlie Cunningham. The prosecution's plea offer allows for either 10 years in prison or 20 years probation, a decision that will be made by the judge. Coleman is due back in court March 27th, while Circuit Judge Mary Shaw is expected to determine if she'll keep Coleman in jail or grant him shock probation. Rhodes' death penalty case remains pending in Cunningham's court. Okay. So now I am going to play a couple of quick videos just to give you a gist of Brice Rhodes' behavior. Okay. So let's watch that and then we'll reconvene momentarily.
Jail charged with killing 2 teenage brothers, and now he'll need to find a new attorney. Before the hearing started, attorney Brendan McLeod told the judge he was so angry he needed to be separated from Brice Rhodes in court. McLeod tells WDRB he was speaking with Rhodes before the hearing, explaining he would no longer represent him. He says everything was calm, and then Rhodes spit on him. After Rhodes was led into the courtroom in his red jumpsuit, marking his protective custody, McLeod let him know how he felt about being spit on.
Nice cheap shot. You a coward. Nice cheap shot. You a coward.
I'll see you when I get out. McLeod says he isn't afraid of the threat. McLeod took on the case because he knows Rhodes' mother. He stepped away because he learned the victims, 14-year-old Larry Ordway and his brother, 16-year-old Maurice Gordon, are the grandchildren of his close friend. The two brothers were found stabbed to death, their bodies badly burned earlier this month. Rhodes is charged with murdering them. 2 juveniles are also charged in the case. We're also learning more about the teens' murders. Homicide detectives now telling us they were killed at Rhodes' apartment in the Clifton neighborhood. Police say the bodies were taken from the murder scene and dumped behind a vacant home in the Shawnee neighborhood. Rhodes told a judge this morning he'll find another attorney. Leaving court, he had a question. He'll need $2 million to get out of jail. Rhodes is also charged in the shooting death of Christopher Jones in early May. The 2 teens' mother says she believes her sons were killed because they witnessed Jones' murder. The funeral for the 2 brothers is ending right about now. McLeod says he attended the visitation earlier this afternoon. Reporting live from Metro Corrections in downtown Louisville, Rachel Collier, WDRB News.
Can we do a fair trial in Jefferson County? But then another part of it is, if we have a concern, what's the alternative? Because then if we might get into a situation on the law where I'm supposed to weigh the pros and the cons. Ma'am,
Stop it. Look at me,
ma'am.
He keeps tiring.
Ma'am, I told you once before. Let me please help you understand. You can't just talk out like that, okay? If you can't handle him looking at you respectfully, all I can tell you to do is don't be in my courtroom, because he's going to keep doing it, particularly now that he knows that it irritates you. So you either are able to control yourself or you're not. And I would understand why you could not. I get that completely. But I can't have you talking up in court, okay? I need you to hear this. The next time it happens, there will be a consequence. You understand that?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Rhodes, you're smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well,
because I can. It's not a crime to smell.
It's not a crime.
Continue what you were saying.
But it doesn't help you, all right, to irritate people.
All right.
And you have a lot at stake in this case.
It's not a crime to smell, is it?
I didn't say you were committing.
Okay, then.
I'm saying you're not helping yourself.
Continue what you were saying.
I'm
allowed to smell.
I would suggest you do what helps you, not what hurts you.
Okay.
That's
do what I want to do.
Well,
Let's
do
get
what
that
you want to do.
understood.
That's fine.
Let's get that understood.
I'm sorry.
Let's get that understood.
Well, you've made that.
Continue what you were saying about the motions.
Okay. So I'm saying I want to have a hearing on it, and we'll be happy to give you a date when we can come back and talk about that. Is there work we need to do to be ready for that hearing, or we basically have what work needs to be done?
Judge, we haven't received their motion.
But we haven't filed the petition yet, Judge. We wanted to have a date from Your Honor. We have some exhibits. Some of them may be lengthy, so we're trying to get all that.
If you think this is the best time,
even though you show favoritism to the Commonwealth, you denied every motion I've ever filed in this courtroom. I'm still it's my right to file a pro se motion, and it's my right to speak what I need to speak on.
Well, I
don't know if y'all got some type of sexual relationship going on or what y'all got going on, but I'm definitely going to speak my mind.
Detective Vitale and I have no sexual relationship.
Now I'm talking about you and the prosecutor over here, sir.
All right.
You denied all my motions. Every motion I filed, you didn't deny it.
I'm pretty sure I've denied the vast
every motion I
pro
filed.
se motions that have ever.
Are you some type of racist? Are y'all got some type of sexual relationship going on? Which one is it?
Or are you just wrong in everything that you've made a motion for?
Are you a secret Ku Klux Klan member?
No, sir.
Is that what you really are?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not.
But like I said, the higher courts, they'll deal with it when time comes necessary.
That's exactly right.
Exactly.
And
so say less.
Mr. Rhodes, you can just bring him up right here.
Why y'all have me come out like this for?
I think you know why.
What?
You know exactly why. Now, listen, stop talking. Have been.
Oh, God.
Are you done?
No, I ain't done.
You've been charged in the
What
fourth
I've been
degree.
charged with? Why
I'm
you
going to keep
charging me
talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you think where you live at? What you think at? None of that. I ain't do.
So you're saying you're going to find out where I'm out?
None of that. You guys saying I'll be out.
Okay.
Yeah,
You've been charged with
okay.
assault in the fourth degree,
I don't
minor
care about none of
injury,
that.
terroristic threatening in the third degree with physical contact. New charges. I'm entering a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Would you like me to read the arrest warrant to you?
No, I'm not guilty.
I am setting a bond of $15,000 full cash on that on those charges, and the other case, once this actually gets served on you, is going to be dismissed without prejudice as duplicate. Do you have any questions? Would you like appointment of a public defender?
Not guilty.
I just said that.
Not guilty.
I just said that.
I'll be out.
Okay, I just said that.
Right.
And would you like an attorney?
Take me back to my cell.
I'm not taking you anywhere. They can take you back, but would you like an attorney?
All right.
Okay. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office. Ms. Schroring, that was a threat against the court. I think that I'm asking the county attorney's office to take that into account and consider what to do with that. Yeah, we'll need to take hold. Also, can you please get that served on him? Thank you. Good luck with that, Eric.
I only added charges.
As you can see, guys, Brice Rhodes is definitely a character. And in my opinion, I think that he was just doing that to have some type of mental evaluation take place. And so they did do that. It took them 6 years to get him some type of mental evaluation in which he was found to have a serious mental defect as well as an intellectual disability. What exactly has not been disclosed. And so we did learn that his IQ is a 73, and therefore he escaped the death penalty. Furthermore, Brice Rhodes has been convicted of all charges, and we are currently waiting for the jury to listen to the penalty phase of the case and come back with a sentencing recommendation. So I will keep you guys abreast of what's going on. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you guys so much. Be on the lookout for Anwan and Corey's testimony, which will be dropping shortly. Y'all be easy. Peace.